All right. Hello, everybody. Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I am so sorry for the crappy video quality. That's because I am filming in a hotel room. We're staying at Caesars, not Caesars, what we're talking about, Resorts World. And we are, okay, well, you guys can't see that, but there's like, there's Circus right next door. So we are in Vegas already. And yeah, so getting excited for SHOT Show. So I have been here since the beginning of the week already. Guys, I'm so sorry for this. So I've been here for the beginning of the week. I really tried to do a live stream on Sunday when we were going to be at the airport, but it was just like we were rushing down quite a bit, and then like Denver airport just completely blew, and I was just exhausted. And then I had 3 days of marketing conferences. So the first one was a affiliate marketing conference, and then for publishers, and then the second one just today was for content creators. So that was definitely really, really cool. And now I got 3 days to relax and finish planning out SHOT Show till the rest of the team starts arriving. And then it's literally going to be a week worth of craziness, where pretty much every 25 to 30 minutes of my life for the week is going to be scheduled out. So yay! I was actually thinking about going back home to Pennsylvania, but it's like, okay, like even if I fly out tomorrow morning, I would get back tomorrow night, and then I would need to be back here like early Sunday anyway. So it's just way too much. So talked to the wifey, and she's like, hey, why don't you just stay home? All right, so let me actually answer some of the questions. Buzz, I hope you're actually still in here. It is weird. So I still have my laptop on Eastern time zone. So it's 11:25 back east. It's 8:25 here, and I am actually almost ready to go to bed myself. Just gonna sum up. Sushi Koma. Surprisingly, I ate quite well. It was an amazing dinner. So for the crew that goes out to SHOT Show, found an amazing all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant, and we can thank our Canadian friend, Mr. Epic Arms, who was like, hey, absolutely, let's find an all-you-can-eat sushi. I'm like, that must be shitty, right? And a friend of mine, he lives out here in Vegas, and he's like, hey, why don't you go to this place? And we're like, we went, and it was amazing. And for the last 3 years, every time we're in Vegas, or anytime I'm in Vegas, I absolutely have to go to that place. And today went there, and then next week there's going to be at least 2 or 3 dinners, that we're going to host there for a couple of things. Buzz, how much are you down, Slav? So I only gambled for about an hour and I really shouldn't have. I was exhausted and tired, but so my entire hotel stay this trip is fully comped with the exception of the resort fees and stuff. So Vegas is definitely desperate. And so this place, I gambled like Resorts World. They comped me 3 nights free, and it's a pretty nice place. and they gave me $50 for food, but I am down about 300. It just was, I should have not done that, but it definitely paid for the stay. So that's basically that. Typically, my budget, I think, like for the entire week, is generally between 500 and 1,000 is my degenerate gambler budget. But usually when I do play, it's going to be like something like low edge, like Baccarat. I definitely love Baccarat. Just a really cool game, slows down everything. And I will say, because of playing a little bit, so I think last trip I was up. This trip I'm a little bit down. But once again, it's like it's not about the gambling for me. I can definitely cut myself off, but I kind of look at it, okay, if I'm going to gamble X amount, how much would I have to pay for the hotel rooms? And that's pretty much going to be my budget on that one. And there's free parking. Yes, definitely excited about seeing you. Passport fully good to go. I did not need a passport unless I'm assuming it's going to be for the other one. It's going to be a busy week. It is absolutely going to be an insane week. And so I was talking to somebody else. I mean, Derek, I'm really looking forward to seeing you, buddy. It's interesting. Just kind of like even like thinking back to, so this is my, so I'm going to move this monitor just once more. So this is going to be my, I think like 12th SHOT Show over the course of 14 years or something ridiculous like that. Obviously, the YouTube channel has only been around. We're going to be on our 5th year. But prior to this, I was coming in my financial analyst capacity. And then prior to that, I did some sponsorship stuff for USPSA. And then before that, I own NewJerseyGunForums.com. So we've been coming for SHOT Show for that. And just seeing a lot of my friends and how our capacities are changing just even over the years. So I remember the first time we went to SHOT Show, like, okay, there's a bunch of us just hanging out. It was, as YouTubers, a bunch of us just hanging out, getting some meetings done. The next year we took it more seriously. I scheduled a bunch of meetings. This year, so I know a couple of people here. They're going to be working with some booths. We're going to be doing some brand ambassador type work with the booths. In full disclosure, so some of you guys already pretty much know this, but about 6 months ago, almost kind of started finalizing it. Doing a marketing company, working with some cool brands and connecting them to content creators. So part of like the big headache that I've had over the last week or so was trying to put on these media events. So like I was doing a dinner for one of my clients, and then like another one's like, hey, can you do the same thing for us? And I'm like, okay, fine. The thing I was planning to do for this company, I'm just going to fit you in. And then somebody else is like, okay, well, we want to do this too. So that turned into, okay, like we're going to do 2 events. And then it turned into 3. Fortunately, one of my local friends, I mean, I don't know why he didn't tell me that he owns a lounge here, a hookah lounge. And he's pro gun. The owner's also his partner in the business is also a massive gun guy. I'm like, okay, you didn't think that this was pertinent information to tell me, especially after I'm telling you that, hey, can we ship packages out because we're trying to do some events and all that stuff. So we're trying to plan an event for about 50 to 100 people in a matter of 3 days, and all of this started last week. But I think all of it's like really coming together right now, so it's making my life easier. But it's just amazing. Somebody, I think it was Michael Walker. I don't see him on here yet, but he asked me, I was like, hey, I hope you guys are having fun on there. And like, it really made me question this entire week, and actually what am I more excited about. So it's definitely cool. Like, I love SHOT Show, but I don't know whether I like seeing all the new guns, because quite honestly, and this is already like, okay, like midnight confessions, it's like the vast majority of the stuff, it's like, okay, like how many black rifles can you see? It's like, okay, it's a new gun, whoop-de-doo. Like what else are you gonna have? It's kind of like, okay, once you've shot machine guns, it's like, all right, well, like once you've shot past a mile, once you've shot machine guns, it's like, what else is there? Once you've shot 50 BMGs, 375 Shy-Techs, 416 Barretts, okay, like what else is there that can be cool? I think like the only two things that would be on that list would be shooting a minigun or like shooting a RPG or like something ridiculous like that. So SHOT Show itself, it is exciting, but I think I get more excitement out of planning and organizing and coming up with a game plan and just the actual event rather than the new guns and all of that stuff that comes out of it, if that makes sense. I will say so. I mean, like, I'm going to be in Vegas for 2 weeks, which is just like, oh my freaking God. It's a ton. I miss my family. I miss my girls. I have 3 daughters for those guys that don't know. And honestly, like, I am looking forward to seeing my friends. I kind of feel really, really guilty. So we run like this Telegram group, and like, so there's 24 people in that Telegram group. It's like, I can't wait until some of these guys start coming in, because it's like, I'm gonna have like next 3 days that I need to keep myself busy. And I think by keeping myself busy, will probably be finish out planning SHOT Show, getting a bunch of that stuff done. I might go run out to the Hoover Dam or something like that. Otherwise, it's just going to be sad and depressing, because honestly, it's like, I don't like Vegas. And like, it's cool, but I don't like Vegas. And if I have a suspicion I might go back to the all-you-can-eat sushi place. But it'll be interesting. But the good news is there's a Starbucks downstairs, and anytime I need to just go relax, I will go to Starbucks, get my laptop, put my headphones on, work, get some stuff done. I do have a video that I have to edit over the next couple of days. So there's a new gun that is coming out, which is super cool. I recorded that video 2 hours before I had to leave for the airport, which kind of goes back to Card Shark's question. I got to pack. I packed, so I had to pack for 2 weeks for 2 conferences. My clothes, so business clothes for the business conferences, SlavGuns, like merch and all that stuff for SHOT Show, plus clothing for media day at the range, plus camera gear for 3 people. And it was just like, I thought I would have more time, but I legit finished packing and everything 8 minutes before I have to leave in order to get to the airport. Yeah, it's just nuts. Yeah, do pack. So we went there like 3 times. Yes, that was the first year. So during that same year, when we went 3 times, so Card Shark obviously is a friend of great person. Helps me, pretty much runs the forum, and just an all around awesome dude. So he does come and helps me out at SHOT Show tremendously. And so he gets to go to all the really cool parties. I'm definitely not a party person. I haven't had one sip of alcohol in the last 3 days here, even though there's like free booze everywhere. So he went to a couple of parties, plus he met like with his cigar buddies. And during those 2 times, I cheated and I went to the all-you-can-eat sushi. I haven't even started packing yet. Pack. Make sure you bring all your merch and all that stuff for handouts for when we were found and located. Bring chapstick. It's super dry here. Like, I had to go. So as soon as I got here, the first thing I do is I go to Walmart, and I had to pick up a whole bunch of vitamins. So I'm loading myself up like twice daily. Bought the Immune Plus, which is C, D, and zinc. Then the multivitamin, and then I had to get like almost like really strong hand lotion, because like my hands just completely dried out, like almost to the point of bleeding. Once you shoot 6.5 Creedmoor, yep, absolutely. I mean, 6.5 Creedmoor is perfection. The interesting part is, so I went to the lounge where we are going to be hosting the event, and there's like 5 gun guys, so it's really cool. Like you go in there, and like 3 of them are open carrying. He's like, hey, let me ask you, like, let me pick your brain. It was literally supposed to be a 30-minute visit, and I was basically there for 3 hours just chatting with the guys. So we were talking about, hey, like he's in the AR world and he's looking to get like a bolt gun or something like that. I'm like, yeah, just get 6.5 Creedmoor. It's awesome cartridge. And then you're going to go back to 308 because it's cool. What was that about? Damn, boys. Oh my God. So speaking of epic arms, on that on that Wednesday event, there was another person who is like freaking huge. I'm like, you're on the juice, right? He's like, yep. I'm like, I'm gonna have a good buddy for you to talk to on Wednesday night. All right, I have to find me a steal of a deal on a ballistic range finding binos. Y'all are the best and can't wait to talk to each of you about your experience. Thank you, Buzz. It is absolutely on the list, and either I will, and I do have minions, and we are gonna go and find that stuff. Chapstick anti. Okay, I definitely don't need that. I never really considered getting anti-shaping cream. Yeah, that just never crossed my mind, honestly. But no, absolutely, you do want to layer up now. So Alex, you haven't been on our Telegram group. Apparently, this year for Media Day at the range, it is going to be wet again, 1/2 inch of rain apparently. But it's not gonna, apparently it's supposed to be in the 50s. So it's not gonna be 32 and miserable and snowing and all that stuff. If you haven't seen the image stabilizing, SIG has image stabilizing. Who was it SIG that released them, or was it somebody else? I could have sworn I saw somebody release image stabilizing binos, but I don't recall who it was. Now I know the really cool ones are from Fuji. But the question is, okay, he wants also range finding as well. So range finding and image stabilizing. Zulu 6, okay. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to check them out this year because SIG is not hosting a media day. Okay, so freaking last year, so before SHOT Show, so SIG had a falling out with NSSF. National Shooting Sports Foundation, which does SHOT Show. And it's actually an interesting story. Like there's a couple of companies who during COVID, all right, hold on. I'm going to grab something to drink and then we're going to discuss this whole thing. It's like an amazing fiasco. Hold on. All right. Ta-da! I am back. All right, so the way SHOT Show works. So this year, SHOT Show is 860,000 square feet of exhibit space. I'm sorry, let me grab my allergy meds. Okay, so NSSF is 860. Hello, sir. So SHOT Show is 860 square feet this year, so it's like a really massive show. Traditionally, SHOT Show has really changed over the last 3 years. Prior to this, SHOT Show was the biggest industry event, and they took up the entire Venetian Convention Center, which is the second biggest convention center in Las Vegas. There is the Las Vegas Expo Center. However, generally, so January is the busiest time for Vegas in terms of conferences. At the same time, so last week there was Consumer Electronics Show, which pretty much took up the entire Vegas, well, the strip. Then This year, there's a little bit of a break. There's a couple of smaller conferences. And then next week, we're going to have 3 big conferences. So we have SHOT Show, which is last year was 64,000. I think this year, I think we're going to hit about 75,000 or so, since we're out of the woo and people actually need to advertise and stuff. Then there's World of Concrete, and then which is 85,000 attendees, and then there's the porn convention, which I believe is like 15,000 or something like that. So it's a truly really busy week in Vegas. So there was a distinct lack of hotel rooms. There was a lack of convention centers and all of that stuff. And when you have a show as big as SHOT Show, it's like it's a little bit difficult. So historically, SHOT Show right now has been like when they book a show, they book it for at least 10 years, just to make sure that those dates are confirmed and everyone can basically has planning. I mean, it's a massive thing to put on such a big show because you have booths to ship, all of the stuff that needs to happen. So, and when you're hosting a show this big, there's only really 4 or 5 places in the country where you can hold that show. That would be New York, Los Angeles, Orlando, Dallas, and Las Vegas. So back in my finance days, I was on a board, I was on a conference planning committee for a small conference of only about 3,000 attendees. And these were the things that we were looking for. So when you're trying to plan the convention and you have a bigger convention, there's a couple of things you're looking for. Number one, it needs to be an airport which is going to have a crap ton of direct flights, because a lot of business people, they don't want to go. Let's say, for example, you're going to host a show in Indianapolis. There is not a lot of direct flights to Indianapolis. Everyone's going to have to do stopovers and stuff, and especially if you're flying international. And then all the private jets from Glock and all that stuff, like you need to have enough airports. So that drops out a lot of the smaller cities. So basically you have like those 5 big ones. The other thing you need to have is you need to have enough hotel rooms. So not last year, 2023, it was Indianapolis. The year before, I think it was Pittsburgh or something like that, where NRA was held. Hotel rooms were like $500 a night, which was just insane. And that's obviously not going to be good. Now imagine 85,000 people coming into a town which only has, let's say, 100,000. There's not enough hotel rooms. So that drops out a lot of it. So airfare, and so you have to have direct flights, and you have to have enough hotel rooms. You have to have enough convention space. So those 3 things. And that's why you're only left really with those 5 cities. Now, you take a conference like SHOT Show. So SHOT Show was actually held in Orlando. The problem is there, like, okay, you have like, it was held in Orlando at like, I think around the Disney complexes. And now you have mom and dad who are bitching that their guys wearing camo with like guns and everything on them. So for those reasons, you're not going to hold a gun show in New York or Los Angeles. So really you have Las Vegas and Dallas. And even Dallas, there's like a lack of hotel rooms within like a certain area. So like even around like the convention center, there's only maybe like 5 or 6 hotels. There's not going to be like, there's not one place where within 2 miles you have 80,000 hotel rooms. And that's why really Vegas is one of those places where the show just needs to be. And when you're running a big show, that's what it is. So you want to reserve your dates so no one else is going to beat out your show. And that's how it was. So with World of Concrete around the same time, they took up the convention center. So the next biggest one that was available was the Venetian one. And they were limited in terms of exhibit space. So we have 2 main floors there, and then they try to shove as much as they can in there. And what basically ended up happening, and a lot of you guys might have actually heard about it, if a vendor or if somebody wanted to get a booth at SHOT Show, there was an average of a 5 or 6 year wait list in order to get a booth at SHOT Show. So NSSF, which runs SHOT Show, they started coming out with like other events, like they'll have like SHOT Show next, or like kind of like these smaller booths, and that kind of gets you in line. Now, the way the booth system works is they work in a point system. So the longer you exhibit, for every year you exhibit, they're going to give you a credit. And when they go in terms of assigning spots, or when they let you pick where you want your booth to be, it's based on the number of credits. So that's why companies, whether they want to go to SHOT Show or not, let's say, for example, if they're going to want to go to SHOT Show 3 or 4 years from now, determining whether we're going to get a booth or not is going to be based on, okay, well, we got to go this year, whether we like it or not, because we might really want to go 5 years from now. So that's how like a lot of like the bigger companies were always there. So 3 years ago, we had the sniffles, and a lot of basically that changed the market completely. And what happened with the sniffles, the big sniffles, the Chinese sniffles, you had two things happen. Number one, gun sales spiked. And number two, you had like a whole bunch of the people who would go to SHOT Show. They're like, no, I can't travel because I'm going to die in an airplane or something like that. Now, granted, the SHOT Show crud is absolutely true, but yeah, I mean, people were basically concerned about that. So when SHOT Show happened, you had a number of vendors who were like, okay, well, we're paying for these booths to go to the show. We're taking a risk by sending our employees to the show, and they might actually get sick, and they might bring it back and infect everyone at the factory. Then we're going to have to shut down. And like, we already can't keep up with demand. So why should we advertise and get more sales when we're already full? And yeah, so it's like, okay, well, why should we? So a couple of the companies basically said, hey, you know what, the hell with it. We are just not going to do it. So they pull out. And SIG was one of those companies that pulled out of SHOT Show during, was it 2020? Somebody remind me on the dates when the flu happened. So basically that year they canceled the show last minute, and then they came back the following year. And for that following year, SIG and a couple other companies, well, okay, well, we don't want to do it and we don't want. So they basically lost their standing in line of where we were. And like, when you're a massive company, like, for example, if you're small and you just want to get a 10 by 10 booth, they can pretty much fit you in. But like SIG had the biggest booths that were there. I mean, we're talking 30,000 square feet, like 30,000 square foot booths. And when you are trying to place a booth that big, so when SIG said, the hell with it, we're just not going to go to SHOT Show, their space was taken over. And because they had like really prime space, their space was taken over by other companies, and everyone fit in. The following year, SIG, like with sales already going down and like they actually need to market, SIG is like, hey, we want to go back to SHOT Show and we want our spot. And we're like, no, because somebody else already took it up. And then SIG basically, don't you know who I am? And basically, like, there's issues with that. But even like last year, so what SIG did, even though they weren't at SHOT Show, they ran a private media event at the range in the days prior to SHOT Show. So we were able to go to that event, and it was really, really cool last year. And then like this year, I didn't get an invite. I'm like, okay, did they just like not like us, or what's going on? And then I'm sure they got pestered by a lot of people. And then we get an email. It's like, hey, this year SIG is not hosting a media and dealer event. They are only hosting an event for their military and law enforcement people. So that is the deal with SIG. So SIG is not going to be at SHOT Show, but a bunch of other companies are there. So Henry's actually back at SHOT Show. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. Like, SIG is too good for the public. I mean, it's like, don't you know who I am? Like, they're legit one of those companies. And it's like, I think a lot of it was like very, very short-sighted. But it was interesting, even though like with a lot of like the talk of SHOT Show, like even like not last year, but even the year before, was that it's like, oh my God, all these big companies pulled out. But even with all the big companies that pulled out, the show got dramatically bigger. And 2 years ago, so what happened was Caesars built a big expo center that was directly behind the Venetian one. So it expanded. So like there's like an additional 250,000 square feet of exhibit space there. So SHOT Show expanded from about 600,000 square feet to over this year. Last year was 814,000 square feet of exhibit space. This year it's going to 840. And so far, I believe they had 2,400 exhibitors. So like this is going to be the biggest show yet. And what's really cool is that number one, gun sales are down. So a lot of these companies are forced to market. So everyone, and like we're getting new product. Then you have a whole bunch of people who are actually flying and stuff. So this will absolutely be the biggest SHOT Show on record in terms of exhibit space, number of exhibitors, and I believe attendance as well. Now, the other question is going to be, well, is it actually good? And I guess it's going to be a question of, okay, good from whose perspective? So 2 years ago, SHOT Show 2022, 2021 was canceled. 2022 is the first year they came back. You had a whole bunch of companies. That was the first year for Caesars Forum. I love that place. It's a brand new convention center. It's so cool. Great carpets there, like really cool to make videos. But you had like a bunch of companies who had booths in that Caesars Forum. And that first year, they were just so empty because a lot of people didn't know. Oh, absolutely. So the bathrooms at Caesars Forum are amazing. They're still clean. Absolutely, they're still clean. I was just there. So the marketing conferences I went to, they were held at Caesars Forum. So they ended at like at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and they already started tearing down and SHOT Show was moving in. But a lot of the vendors who moved there, like, so for example, you had Ruger, Darkstorm Industries, you have Gunworks, you have Springfield Armory, a bunch of others who went to Caesars Forum. They paid all this money for new booths and all that stuff. And then, like, okay, we just gave up our prime booth locations on the main floor of the Venetian to go to Caesars Forum, and there's no one here. So a bunch of those companies the following year went back to getting like shittier booths at Venetian too. But this last year, 2023, Caesars Forum was so busy, like they finally told people, hey, by the way, like you have this whole other convention center full of gun stuff, and people started visiting there. So I love Caesars Forum. It's finally busy. They have like this bridge that goes outside that connects two buildings, which is cool. And it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be a really, really big show. So I'm excited about it. Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. And they do have clean bathrooms. Hey, folks. Hey, Drew. Hope all is well and healthy. The past 8 days have been horrible at the new house. Critters and crawl spaces, frozen plumbing, 12,000. Wow. But just know that you're going to have like this really nice property. I will say I will never complain about Pennsylvania weather. So I was flying through Denver and it was like -2 degrees, which is just nuts. Fortunately, I didn't have to go outside, but basically when I go to Vegas, I don't bring my ski jacket or anything. So I was like, yeah, thank God I didn't have to go outside. Yeah, so now also the bridge is available on the first floor. So don't you mean PEX? PEX. But wouldn't PEX still heat up? I'm sorry, freeze? Hey, Michael. How are you, sir? So I answered your question that you asked as the very first one. So go back through and watch it. We were talking about whether I'm enjoying the event or not, and kind of like whether I like SHOT Show or not. Yes. So, but no, so this year, kind of like, okay, so share some plans and stuff that is this year. So this year we have an awesome group. We're going to have like our core group of, so for SlavGuns and our websites, we're going to have a group, I believe it's going to be 7. We have a cool kid, Jagger. So when you're watching the videos, and make sure to say thanks, Jagger. So I'm bringing on a full-time video editor who is going to be at SHOT Show. He's flying in a couple of days, and he will be releasing certain videos straight from the show. So when you're watching those, I'm sorry that I started releasing some videos like a year after SHOT Show, but hey, blame Palmetto State Armory, because half the guns still weren't released. So yeah. So we are going to be releasing a bunch of videos straight from SHOT Show. I think what you're going to be seeing is like your regular booth tours, and there's probably 8 or 10 videos that are going to come out starting Wednesday, because Monday is media day at the range. Tuesday is the first full day of SHOT Show, and we do have a couple of videos. A couple of them are actually paid videos. Those are going to be out as long form content. And then I am going to use this AI tool that I found, and it's going to chop it up into shorts. So we're going to do that. And then once we get back, we're going to have like the fully produced shorts. So we're going to have that. That is awesome. Okay, so somebody commented on that. So the videos that we're definitely going to have within the first couple of days, Palmetto State Armory, their schedule on the first day, Live Free Armory, their schedule on the first day. Actually, let me go look at my schedule. Fiachi, which is the Amazon company, we're going to release that during SHOT Show. So those are the ones that, like, okay, like we're absolutely going to get those videos out. You're also going to get the day of SHOT Show, or got to talk to Darkstorm Industries when they're going to publicly announce it. But they have a really cool gun that is being released. So I got to find out when. So I do have that already. I was hoping to have a full review video on it, but they sent it to me late, so I did the first impressions video on that. So that you're going to get during SHOT Show. And then anything else that's going to be interesting, we're going to get that out. So some of the videos are going to be me in them. Some of them are going to be Card Shark. And then we have 2 other local friends who are going to be recording some videos or in some form of content, things on optics and night vision and things like that. And if there's any companies or anything in particular that you guys want to see, comment in the videos or the chat. We'll absolutely add them to the list. Hey, Ryan, I'm sorry you're not going to be here. Yeah, so I've been in Vegas for 3 days now. There were 2 marketing conferences, so I was here for 3 days. And now I have 3 days of rest, and then the team starts coming in. Okay, the DS-25. So I am going to have an update on the DS-25. The gun that I got is not the DS-25, but there have been some updates on the DS-25. And I guess I can say that there's going to be something else from that same company that's going to be really cool that I haven't even seen yet. I just know of it, but I'm looking forward to it. So now there was actually a comment. So there we go, Scott. I did not miss it. I apologize. Did you see the chassis system Strike Industries is coming out with for the PS90? So here's the question. Is it a chassis system for the PS90 or is it for own gun? I got an email on that, and I asked Card Shark to add it to his list because I think he did Strike Industries last year. So we're definitely going to take a look at that. The other ones that were on the list are Magpul has the new translucent magazines. I think they have a metal magazine. So those are on the list. So right about now, like the emails are getting blasted, like all the new releases and stuff like that. So slowly adding them onto the list. And the next 3 days is going to be just filling out our schedules and everything just to make sure that we're not going to miss anything else like that. Pexi's. I did not know that. So our house is 20 years old or 15, and we have PECs. So far, we haven't had issues with PECs. I might send one of my RPR to Eagle Eyes coding guy. Who's that? Pending he can do the American flag and Cerakote in about a month or two. So here's the thing, like honestly, so like I have a couple of guns that are Cerakoted with the American flag. They look cool, but you know what though? At that point, I don't shoot them because I feel bad wearing it out. Like if it's just a regular Cerakote finish, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like, yeah. Now what I really do is apparently Cerakote has the HFIR. It's like the anti-reflective night vision Cerakote finish. I was hoping that some manufacturer would do a gun like that and we can get some night vision and look at a gun at night. That'd be really cool. Hopefully somebody does that someday. I said too much. So the PS90, it's like it's one of my dream guns. I love the PS90. I love that gun. I'm a big Stargate fan. I love Stargate SG-1. Like I wasn't a Trekkie, even though I like Star Trek. Star Wars, like the original 3 movies were good. The rest of it's like, eh. But I'm definitely like a Stargate person. And when we're done with this, I'm going to put Stargate Universe on and watch Stargate Universe for the 5th time. SG-1, I'm on like the 10th time of going through seasons 1 through 10. I love Stargate. So PS90, I really, really want it. I actually want to hear the cool story about why Stargate went with the P90s instead of the MP5s. It's a really cool story. A company you need to check out is Military Armament Corp. I got sent for a new 12 gauge. It is pretty legit. Carter, can you add it to the list, please? Ooh, look at this. I love you guys. We have so much expertise here. I'm an HVAC guy. Typically, PEX can freeze but will not burst because it has some expansion and contraction, whereas copper will just burst. And I'm also assuming that PEX right now is going to be a lot cheaper too. Yes. Drew, hit up Ryan. And actually, Ryan is going to be arriving in like about 24 hours. So we're going to get together with him. The series Cerakote is H series. It's matte and gloss type clear coat. So I want to polish the whole system and have it opaque colors. I know nothing about Cerakote. I just know that there's something like that. Okay, military arm. Okay, that makes sense. Because didn't Military Arms Corps like MAC or like who was it AAC? Like who made that? Was the SPAS 12 or like that big shotgun? Turkish semi-auto 12 gauge. So personally, so I work with a bunch of content creators who are in Eastern Europe, where Turkey has been sending a bunch of 12 gauges. I personally would not trust my life to a Turkish 12 gauge. There's a not, politics is involved in it, but I would basically say it really depends on who the importer is. So I guess if you're talking with like Turkish guns in particular, So President Erdogan, so Turkey has a rich history of firearms that has been lost and degraded over a number of years. I don't remember when it was. I think it was like 10 or 15 years ago. Turkey established gun enterprise zones where basically it's like urban enterprise zones in the middle of nowhere where there's a whole bunch of gun companies and they get government subsidies, no taxes, and all of that stuff. So they just produce guns and it's all about volume to them. And oftentimes, let's put it this way, one of the Turkish manufacturers, and you can use this as a microcosm for a lot of them, they were producing guns to be sold to a large Eastern European country. And they started bringing those to market, and half the guns were blowing up. So that importer then put their own people in the factory in Turkey, and they were basically QCing each individual one. And they were saying initially they were rejecting 50% of the guns. And then they started learning. So it's almost kind of like the same issue like with a lot of the Chinese manufacturers. So the question is, okay, like you have company A that produces a optic in China. You have company B that produces an optic in China. So why does, let's say, for example, like, why does SIG not have as good luck as, say, Vortex? Well, that's because Vortex is freaking huge. Vortex designs the stuff. They have their own people on site, and you don't want to piss off somebody the size of Vortex. Meanwhile, if you're just Joe Schmo and you have a small company and you go to an OEM and you're not on top of them and controlling them, they're going to take advantage of you. So a lot of the Turkish companies, it's not like, so for example, like designs that they come up with are absolute garbage generally. The designs that they copy are generally pretty good, but the biggest issue with Turkish guns is the metallurgy, and it is inferior stuff. Some of them, so for example, like Canik is an exception. And the reason why is because they're controlled by Century Arms International and they have their own people, and like they control the process from A to Z. SDS was one of the companies that they were a little bit better. And that's because they had their own people there that were QCing each individual gun. EAA initially, when they started importing, I believe it was SAR, those guns were garbage. They are blowing up. Why? Because there's some importers who literally are like, yeah, absolutely, we trust you. Let's just bring in your guns and all of that stuff. So I do think that a lot of the companies are getting smarter and they don't just trust the OEM. You have to verify. But there's still a bunch of stuff that does get through. And when you look at some of the pricing on some of these guns, you do have to factor that into the equation. All right. Yay, I got through a lot of the comments. Okay. I'm ready for more comments and super chats and for people being awesome members. Hit that there. If you are going to be coming to SHOT Show, I do have patches, so find me. You're going to get cool stuff. I am limited on patches though, so I brought 20. So I have 20 patches that I brought. I might even sign one. I do have a marker. So I will have those out if you are going to be going to SHOT Show. And of course, if you want to help support the channel, you can purchase the patches. Oh yeah, we're going to have a patch swag off. I will say I have to refill my patch bag. So this summer, we got flooded pretty bad. We got flooded 3 feet of water in the basement. Actually, it was like 32 inches, so just under 3 feet. And I had 3 bags of SHOT Show swag that all were tossed. Like, I mean, like it was just moldy stuff by the time I got to it. So all of my really, really cool patches and stuff, I unfortunately lost, so I do have to make up for that. Hey, Vernon, good seeing you, buddy. I look forward to seeing you at our events. When are you flying in? There you go. Yeah, Ryan. So go on our Discord and hit up Karchark, and he will absolutely hit you up. So we'll save some of the shot search swag. Hold on, I got to get this. So there are some companies that do like special patches for each day. So like last year, there's one like they had like all the Vinny the Pooh patches. So here I have the money shooting a belt fed, and yeah, they're like really really cool. Yeah, he is the swag master. I will say, so what's actually interesting is like you will see like next week, go on Gunbroker or eBay, there will be people who are selling like SHOT Show patches, and I was dumbfounded how some of the patches, like even basic stuff like Geisley and stuff, were like selling for like $20-$30, which is just ridiculous. What would be an interesting video is like if somebody like okay, a lot of content creators, and this is okay, so talking about content creators, and I personally think that if you are a gun tuber or somebody who's starting out, SHOT Show is the most important event that you can attend because so I mean let's kind of talk about it like from the business perspective. So yes, I was lucky. Through my previous work, even as a smaller YouTuber, I had connections with a lot of the larger manufacturers. So they took me seriously. They took me seriously as a person who just happens to have a YouTube channel rather than as a gun tuber. Now, as the channels get bigger, and now being involved in both sides of it, both as a content creator and somebody who handles marketing for companies, larger companies, they will get blasted with, like, for example, like, take someone who's, for example, like Glock. Let's just say Glock. They will get 20 to 30 requests per day of influencers reaching out saying, hey, can you send me a gun? I'm a YouTuber. I want to do a video on this and that. And unfortunately, so kind of like, and this was really helpful going to this conference today, just kind of reaffirms a lot of the things. And it used to be all about the subscriber count. And when YouTube truly was about long form content, yeah, subscriber count really mattered. Now that YouTube does a bunch of shorts, they want to compete with TikTok, the subscriber count is a bullshit number. I mean, it truly is a bullshit number, but you still have a whole bunch of companies who the first thing they'll ask is, okay, like, how many subs do you have? Oh, you don't have 1 million subscribers? You're nobody. And oftentimes, like if you're a newer content creator, and like let's say for example, I mean like you have 1,000 subs, 2,000 subs, you're gonna try to reach out to these companies, and they're gonna hit your. It's gonna be it's awesome if they give you the courtesy of a reply. Most of them will not. A lot of the emails will go into spam, and they're just gonna hit delete, and that's it. Other companies are just super busy; they may not get around to it, and it's like unless they've already known you and you've worked with them, or you came recommended, or better yet, they reached out to you. A lot of the emails that are unsolicited that they receive just end up going nowhere. And that's why sometimes I'm like tired of hearing from like a lot of my friends, like, oh, like I was trying to work with this company and like they don't want to send me anything, and all that. SHOT Show and NRA, but SHOT Show in particular, because it's an industry event, you can approach any company there and talk to not the intern who is screening the emails. You can go up and talk to the president of the company. You can legit go to the Ruger booth and shake hands with the CEO of Ruger, because that is what they're there for. So you are on the same basis as a nobody content creator as a Colin Noir or anybody else. And especially with smaller brands that are going to be a little bit less sophisticated. And obviously the thing that comes up is like, okay, well, it's like, I would love to go, but it's like, it's expensive. It's an investment. I absolutely agree with it. So where I was heading with that is, okay, like, okay, you have all these SHOT Show patches. The amount of swag that you get at these shows and the collectors who collect this stuff, I absolutely guarantee that if somebody was saying, hey, I want to go to SHOT Show, but I don't have the budget to go to SHOT Show. If you dedicate half a day to just grabbing swag, like patches and stuff, and throwing it on eBay or Gunbroker, you will more than recoup the entire cost of your trip. And if every 25 minutes of my week was not scheduled out, I would absolutely love to try that. But I mean, here's the other perspective. I mean, like, for example, so like this year, in full disclosure, we are going to have, I believe, 2 or 3 videos that are paid for. So smaller companies that generally would not get the time of day from content creators, they're willing to pay a content creator to come out and create a semi-professional video that they're going to put out there. And like, even so, I know a couple of really small creators that are getting paid by number of vendors to come out and create some videos for them. Fine, it doesn't even have to be for your channel. Like, they will hire you as a production company to go out and hold a camera and make a video for them, and that'll cover it up. And here's the kicker. I mean, like, so this year is a little bit different in terms of, like, flights are a little bit more expensive. Hotels are fairly cheap. I mean, all in, almost from anywhere that you are, $1,000 for the entire week would cover your airfare and hotel or an Airbnb. And you can, I mean, there's so many content creators that are going, and especially if you're friends with others, split an Airbnb. So in our Airbnb, it was about like $300 a head for the week, which is like amazing value. I mean, like, the cheapest that I've done in Vegas, like the last couple of years, my airfare was under $100 from the East Coast. And so basically under $500, you can absolutely get away with it. And then if you play your cards right, you get invited to events, which your dinners are covered. As media, every morning your breakfast is covered. So you don't even have to pay for food. So it's like, you can say that taking time out, yes, absolutely, it's a real one, and you do have to make it up. But the whole money thing, I think it's a bullshit excuse if anybody starts taking it even any semi-seriously. And kind of like the whole idea, like, even if it's like worth it to you, like, yeah, do it. But I mean, here's the idea. If someone's really complaining, I mean, you can absolutely go to SHOT Show, collect the swag, and sell it. So a prime example, so there was Maxim Defense. They had those skateboards. My video guy from last year, he got one of those skateboards. They are going on a Gunbroker for about $300. And then he decided to be a little bit more ingenious. Kyle Rittenhouse or Rittenhauer, but Kyle was doing demos there. Like, he was a paid show for one of the companies. They paid him to show up. And so my camera guy, he took that skateboard for Maxim Defense and he had Kyle sign it. Now, how much would that skateboard be worth? I mean, probably 500 to 1,000 that somebody would pay. So, I mean, that basically covers your entire trip. I mean, it's like, so you can't use it as an excuse. But also from the other perspective, let's say, for example, like me, like, you can legit pump out a year's worth of content in a week. So last year I counted, we recorded 86 videos at SHOT Show. I mean, granted, it was like complete bedlam, mayhem. Um, but we were able to get 86 videos recorded at SHOT Show and all of these connections. And like I said, and the biggest one is, like I said, when you're going to the shows, I mean, so for example, like Ryan here, I mean, like he is connected and he does have those relationships, but not everyone who's becoming a gun tuber has those connections. So when you don't have those personal introductions, you can legit go to the show and go to any booth and say, shake hands with the CEO. And as long as you are a people person and you take a legit interest in the company, you can more than justify your expenses going down there because you're going to have those relationships. And that doesn't even take into account if your goal to go to SHOT Show was to meet brands, guess what? These brands, a lot of them will be sending you guns on loan, or you can buy them at a discount, but you can make those connections where you can get a bunch of free stuff. I mean, if you don't get thousands of dollars, if you don't get commitments for receiving thousands of dollars in stuff, you're doing it wrong. I mean, that's not even talking about the SHOT Show swag. And once again, I mean, you want to do collaborations with bigger creators and things like that. Well, guess what? Most of the big content creators are going to be here. Every single big brand is going to be here. Anybody who is anybody in the industry will be in that one place. And let's say, for example, you want to do a collab with somebody. Okay. Let's say you reach out to a bigger creator and it's like, okay, now they have to, like, you're not in the same state. So you got to schedule the time to be at the same place. Meanwhile, there's a media room. So with all the other content creators and writers and everything else like that, you can easily be like, hey, by the way, like go up to Eric Iraq Veteran 8888 or Brennan Herrera or Scotty or Matt or Colin and go like, hey, by the way, can we do a quick video or whatever? And they can do that. They're right there and then. So, yeah. Thank you for agreeing there. Yeah. And that's actually also a really interesting hookup. So, I mean, prior to SHOT Show, when I shot USPSA religiously, I was the sponsor coordinator. I did know a lot of the companies as a result of that. But I will say, so as a sponsor coordinator, I was asked by USPSA to go to SHOT Show to get connections with more brands, to get sponsorships and all of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's one frustration I hear frequently from smaller channels is that people aren't accessible to them, which I can get from both sides of the coin. Accessible at SHOT Show or from where? Or just in general? But no, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's like, unless somebody has a personal introduction. So, for example, I have connections with a lot of the bigger companies, and generally, even like at the corporate suite level. And I mean, like, I've made a ton of introductions. So, for example, like if somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, Max, can you, okay. Perfect. Yeah. So I will absolutely answer this. So let's say, for example, somebody reaches out to me. Obviously, like the joke of it is that SlavGuns is Ruger guns. I do have a really good connection with Ruger. And I've hooked up a lot of people with Ruger. And let's say, for example, if somebody just reaches out to me and is like, hey, can you get me an in at Ruger? It's like, okay, well, now I got to send emails and do all of that stuff. Meanwhile, if you're at SHOT Show, I will just grab you by the hand. I will take you over to the booth, put you in touch with one of the people and be like, hey, by the way, this person was interested in working with Ruger, and you just have the door open. It takes less than 5 minutes. And what do you think is going to work better? Me sending an email or me taking you over and introducing you to the product managers, the chief marketing officer, the CEO, the CFO? What do you think is going to work better? Obviously, those personal introductions. And here's once again, it's like you have the executives from all of the bigger companies, you have everyone there, which leads to this point. So a lot of creators will complain that companies aren't accessible via social media. Well, who do you think answers social media? At best case, it is somebody who works for the company. It's not the marketing officer. It's not. So if it's a bigger brand, it is probably not even going to be somebody working for the brand. They hire other PR agencies or marketing agencies, and they do that type of stuff. Typically, if a brand wants to work with you, they will find you and they will reach out to you. If that's generally how it works. I mean, they're going to go and find you. But if you want to reach out to them, if it's a smaller company, like a tiny company, yes, you can reach out to them on social media, but you absolutely cannot expect to reach out to a larger company or a larger manufacturer via their social media channels and expect to get somebody who is in power to actually do anything. Because a lot of those companies, so who you're talking to, like, working as content creators, it depends on the brand. Some of them, it's going to be the same person who handles public relations will handle influencers. Other companies, they have a separate person who handles just influencers. Other brands, they will basically hire marketing companies and they're like, okay, well, we don't have the tools, we don't have the time, go contact this other agency. So if you reach out to a brand on their social media channel and you're talking to some customer service rep or somebody in India who is answering their DMs or things like that, yeah, it's going to go into the abyss. And once again, that's why you go to the shows themselves, because you don't have those gatekeepers there and you can talk to the people straight there. I've got my patch in my workshop. Interesting. Okay. Okay. What is this ding? Okay. Great question. So this was, I was in a marketing company. So one thing to keep in mind is that influencer marketing and content creators, it's still a relatively new thing. I would say overall, the gun industry is behind the curve on technology and marketing. That is why a lot of them still believe in the bullshit subscriber count, which doesn't matter at all. Because you can have somebody with 300,000 subscribers, but all of it was built on, let's say, TikTok or Shorts, and you can send them a product and 300,000 subs, they'll be lucky to break 500 views on long form content. So it's interesting. But more and more studies. I mean, like, so I was just this marketing conference I was at. I mean, there's people from Amazon, I mean, Victoria's Secrets, like Procter and Gamble, Bayer, like these massive companies, and talking to some like the agencies that were in there. You still have all of these companies who still believe that, hey, working with a bigger influencer is going to be better than working with micro or nano influencers. So it's very, very difficult. And I'll share this. So the company I help out with marketing, we've sent products out to a bunch of creators. And interestingly, the guys who convert the best on affiliate programs are the smaller channels rather than the bigger ones. Um, yeah. And that's actually there. All right. So wait, Nick, did you just post something? I got a notification, but I don't see where you posted or what. So you'll have to. Ooh, I will slightly disagree with this. Um, I will disagree with this a little bit. I would also say that a smaller channel, let's just say, you might be a waste of time to SIG, but SIG is not a waste of time to you. And I would also break it down between, so for example, even as a much smaller creator, so SIG has a couple of different silos. So while rifles, yes, but I would say, for example, electro optics is handled by an outside marketing company, and they very much work with smaller creators. Okay. That is absolutely true. They beta test on users. They absolutely do. But let's put it this way: if you're a smaller content creator, and you have somebody like Taurus or Glock or Ruger or Smith and Wesson reach out to you to launch a product, you absolutely say yes. If you're interested in growth, because that'll drive views and that'll get you new audiences. So what's interesting is, and kind of like my whole philosophy is between everything, is when a brand is working with a creator, it's about what's in it for who and who wins what. So, and there's three parties involved. So there's the brand, there's you as the creator, and then there's your audience. Anything that I look at has to be a win for the audience. And there is nothing on the channel that I've covered or created content on that I would not recommend. Um, there are a bunch of products that I am reached out to and being pitched that I will say, for example, hey, you know what? This is cool, but I don't think it's going to be beneficial to my audience. So why don't, let's say, we do something else? Or you know what? How about I make a video for you and you can use it as your own and post it on your own platforms, but I'm not going to post it on mine. So there's that. And then really what it comes down to is, okay, what is your value as a creator, and then what is the brand? And I wish Steven was on, so we were kind of having these discussions on this. And he was like, okay, well, if you're working with a brand, you should absolutely be charging them. And I would basically say it this way. If, let's say, I have a smaller brand, let's say, for example, okay, like we're going to do a sponsored video for Fiyachi. They are a brand, they sell a lot on Amazon, and I saw that they were there. I'm like, okay, let's do a video. And the way we approached it was, I like the products. There's a lot of products that I think are a really good value. There's some products that I think are but I have no problem covering the products that are going to be good. The issue is that in this relationship between Fiyachi, yeah, it's a Fiyachi, not Fiyoki. The difference between Fiyachi and my brand is they would benefit more from me giving them coverage because number one, I'm creating professional level content for them. And number two is we're posting it on our channel where we're exposing their brand to our audience. Very few people actually search for their brand. So in this case, okay, like I'm not winning that much, and it's actually going to be a detriment to us in order to do it, because anytime you do a video, it takes time and money and all of that stuff. So I'm like, okay, I can do a video for you, but we're not going to make anything an ad revenue or anything else like that. So it has to be a paid video. Now, flip that around, and let's say, for instance, Taurus is launching a new gun, and I'm reached out to by their marketing director or somebody else like that. And they give me the option, hey, we're launching a brand new G3C. Do you want to review it for the channel? And I say, abso-freaking-lutely yes, because there are going to be millions of people who are going to be searching for the firearm, yet there's only hundreds of thousands of people who are watching our videos on a monthly basis. So in that type of relationship, me being first to do a launch video for this product, they're doing me a favor, and we're winning a lot more. We're getting more out of the relationship than Taurus is. Because there's other bigger channels who can get them a lot more coverage. And for us, it's going to get us coverage from people who ordinarily wouldn't find this channel. So obviously in the relationship like that, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to charge you. I'll say thank you for giving us the opportunity. And so like with that, you have to approach it. So like, that's how I approach every single email, every single relationship that basically comes in, who's winning, who's getting more out of it. So when you're a smaller creator, you're winning in every case, because you don't have an audience. And generally, when you're a brand new content creator, what you're looking at is you start out with making content that's going to be, so no one knows who you are. And even if you're the brightest, smartest person and everyone else like that, it's not about what you know, it's about who knows what you know. So no one cares, like, why are vlogs basically dead at this point? Because look, it's like, if you're a creator, like brand new, I don't give a crap what you ate for breakfast. I don't care what you ate for dinner. I don't care about your political philosophy. It doesn't matter. I want that information. So if you do a review video on this buy water, people are going to search for it because they want a review on that product. They don't want to know what your opinion is on politics or anything else like that. So when you're a smaller creator, you need to build an audience, but no one knows who you are. So that's why generally when you're starting out is you're going to review every single firearm, every single thing that you've done. You're going to make a bunch of searchable content to get to that next level when you are going to have enough in the audience that you can reach out to a company and legit say, hey, we're interested in producing content for this. Is it possible for you to send it to us on loan? And generally speaking, as long as your video quality is decent, and if you work with other type of brands, companies will give you the time of day. They will send you the product out on loan. And typically what happens in those cases is, if the video is fair, I'm not saying it has to be a good video, like they should be like, oh my God, this is the bestest thing since sliced bread. It just needs to be a fair video. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some companies out there that I don't work with, but there are some companies out there that if you're saying anything negative about them, it's like, they're going to be like, oh my God, it's like, we're not going to do anything with you. But generally speaking, most of the companies are fair. And I'll give you a prime example. Like, I shat on Taurus when they had like the function where the gun looks like it's unsafe and you can pull the trigger and a gun goes off. I'm like, okay, I need to cover this, but like, there's no way in hell Taurus is ever sending me a gun. I sent it to the marketing agency. 2 days later, I get an email from the chief marketing officer of Taurus saying, hey, I just want to say thank you for bringing this to our attention. I want you to know that we're taking it seriously. And then a couple of weeks later said, we fixed the issue. And then I get emails, hey, do you want to help us launch this new product? So there are companies like that. They truly do care, as long as you're fair and you're not making up bullshit. And then you basically kind of get to this point where companies will start reaching out to you, and kind of the same way I've started reaching out to some of the creators on here because like I saw something that they can do, and that's basically the ultimate goal. And then once you're like A tier, let's say for example, like you're a massive channel, you have a track record, you have an audience that somebody basically wants. At that point, your discussions are, okay, yeah, I'll do this, and then I need to check for X, Y, and Z. What I'll kind of say along the same lines, though, is that at a certain point, so for example, let's take a look at Demolition Ranch, let's take a look at Brendan Herrera, Scott, Kentucky Ballistics. Those guys are no longer gun channels. They're entertainment channels. Their audience, so for example, on our channel, the average age is 35. 85% of you are in the United States, 98% of you are male, and quite affluent. The average age for a demo ranch is going to be about 15. So you have to have your core competency. And I'll kind of give a great example of this. So, okay, I'm not going to name names, but it's all factual. So there was a company, they make high-end hunting and precision rifle scopes. They were the first to kind of come up with a product which was amazing for long-range shooters. I reached out to them, and so did a couple of my friends, and they're like, "No, your channel's too small. Like, it's like we're looking into working with influencers, but like maybe we'll give you a little bit of a discount." And like basically I said, okay, it's just not gonna. It doesn't make sense because it's like I think it's a really cool product, but it's not gonna do. I'm not. It's let's put it. It's not Vortex. It's not even Sig. It's not Athlon. It's not even Arkin. Like, yeah, your product might be better than all of this stuff, but like no one searches for it. It's because I just thought it was really, really good fit for the channel, and we'd be able to monetize it for an affiliate program and all that stuff. But I'm not going to go spend $2,500 to buy a scope that is going to take me 5 years in order to recoup the cost. So I'm like, hey, can you at least send me one on loan? And they're like, eh. A year later, I see that precision rifle scope on a utility channel. So a $3,000 precision rifle scope being tested on a $500 AR-15 being shot at 100 yards. Yeah. This was a big channel, fairly popular, good production quality. I can't shit on any of that stuff. But this brand thought that, hey, you know what? It's better to work with a bigger creator for our product rather than somebody who actually deals with this stuff and has the audience for that stuff. So 6 months later, after that, at Comp Expo in Colorado, it was a cool event, first year that they held it. And they had a booth there, and like I'm walking by, and they're like, "Oh my God, Max, thanks for like we were hoping you would stop by. We would love to work with you." I'm like, "Really now? Like now you know my name?" And I mean, the channel was like we were back. I think like that time, like we were like 12,000 or 13,000 subscribers, something like that. But the company, I was like, so like we started talking. I'm like, so how was that video placement that you did? Like. He's like, yeah, we spent like thousands of dollars. We sent out the scopes and it did not convert at all. I'm like, well, no shit. It's like you're sending your product to somebody who doesn't have the audience for it. And that's really kind of like the whole big point about like those bigger channels. It's like you do have companies out there. Let's say, for example, like if you're Springfield Armory, yes, you're going to go to your massive channels because it's like there's like you're not pitching a particular product, you're pitching your entire brand. If you're advertising a video game, you want to have the biggest reach and all of that stuff. But if you're in a niche, shotguns. Look, if you're a company that's trying to advertise a shotgun, you're not going to go to a long range rifle channel. Let's say, for example, I'm working with a company that does hunting tripods and shooting tripods. The creators I reached out to, they were people who are in the space, and we targeted micro and nano influencers in particularly, because these people have an audience who is engaged, and these people actually understand the product and they know how to use it, versus us sending, and let's say, for example, paying $50,000 to get some massive channel to do a quick video on it. We're not going to use it properly, and the vast majority of our audience is like not going to be interested in the first place. But a lot of the brands don't understand that still. So like Ryan, Benny Miller, like we're kind of talking about it, it's like it's completely different audience. And even if you compare, like, say, for example, like a good gun channel. So let's say, for example, someone who's specialized. So Alex, Epic Arms, Steven, Bullets for Bucks. These guys, or like even our channel, it's like they have a niche, they have a particular type of following. They have a completely different viewer base than a Mr. Beast or a Demo Ranch or even like a Hickok 45. And it's gonna, so the products are gonna convert better, and as a more targeted channel, you can actually make more money with less views than a bigger channel. So for example, like YouTube ads, it comes down to cost per mil, which is what's the price that they're paying per 1,000 views. And on our channel, look, on a gun channel, I think like right now, last I checked, is like advertisers are paying $14 per 1,000 views for ads. A channel like Mr. Beast, what do you think his rate is? It's $1. So a focused gun channel is going to make 12 times as much per view as a general channel like a Mr. Beast or like a pranks channel. And even along the same lines, a channel that's going to be, let's say, for example, an optics channel like Epic Arms is going to make significantly more money per view than a general entertainment channel such as Demolition Ranch, The Gun Collective, Talonside, like any of these bigger channels. Because like I said, the audiences that they attract, it's like the more you get out of your core competency, the more international traffic that you get, the more entertainment that you are, it's like it devalues it. Chris, Glover Tag, I am so excited to see you, buddy. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so this was actually kind of like one of those last things. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me do a live stream. And like, now that like I have like Wusan time to relax, I absolutely appreciate this. GTM, actually, Andrew, we were talking about you a little bit earlier. No, it was not a. It wasn't a James Yeager, but it was a James. That's interesting, but Sig, what specifically? The next new channel now will be the next Demo Ranch size channel. I'm a full believer in that. Look at hunt, shoot, and fish. Yeah, so there's one channel. I don't remember if it's the exact same person. He's part of the Daryl Eves group. He does really good content, but it's an entertainment channel. So I mean, really, and this is kind of like one of the challenges and debates I've had internally between, do I want to convert and become an entertainment channel, or do I want to continue towards more like a siloed approach in what we've been doing? And it's actually, so what's interesting is, so like obviously I stay away from the politics side of it. So at this conference where I was at, there was a company and they work with enterprise businesses, and they basically make products for the Fortune 100 company on influencers, and it crawls through all of this data and it compiles reports on them and it puts it into silos. So I have the full report, I got to look into it, but I'm like, okay, prove to me that this is actually a good product. And he did the report. Now, they don't have access to any of the YouTube analytics, but really what they look at is a bunch of the people who have the Chrome extensions and all of this stuff. They use proprietary data analysis and the proprietary data that they pull from sources, and they compile these reports. And he came up with this report, and I was dumbfounded. So the 3 buckets that it pulled up for us, number 1, which is 50% of the audience, was rugged outdoors individuals. The second bucket was family values, and the third bucket was gun rights and Second Amendment. And I'm like, holy crap. Oh, and actually in tech, there's like a 4th bucket, which was like deeply involved in tech. And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, that's exactly who the audience, like knowing a lot of you guys. And what was peculiar is that Second Amendment was not the biggest trait, and it was actually tied for 3rd. And that was precisely what I was targeting with this. So my personal approach, even with firearms, I personally believe the best way of securing the Second Amendment is to put firearms into as many people's hands as possible, because I don't know anybody who shot a gun and be like, oh my God, this thing is horrible. So I stay away from the politics. You know, I have my politics and I talk about them every so often, but I try to stay away from it definitely in the videos. And this analytic software immediately picked that up, versus we ran some other channels and like Second Amendment was like right there in the big one, politics, everything else. So like it's pretty amazing. So like, these tools do exist on there, and more brands are getting access to this. So I would say the 2 takeaways from this are the time of being a massive entertainment channel. Like, you don't need to be this massive channel in order to be successful or in order to be a full-time YouTuber. Absolutely. Because even if you think about it, let's put it this way, I'd rather be Backfire right now than Demo Ranch. And I almost guarantee you that Backfire with his 800,000 subs makes more money than Demo Ranch with his millions and millions. Definitely on the CPM rates and all of that stuff, because he has a much more different audience than the other guys. And the other takeaway from this, and I think this is what we're going to be seeing more and more, and this was actually the former marketing director at Bayer. What she was saying is, YouTubers, the step for us is, so our time as influencers, everything obviously goes in cycles. If somebody truly wants to be successful, what they need to think of themselves is as of a brand and starting their own brand. So for example, like Mr. Beast has his Mashables and all of that stuff. I do think more and more content creators are going to have their own brands. So obviously we have our LuxGun website. Right now we sell obviously our merch. We resell some merchandise. We are going to have some private label products coming out. I know Alex has his CDN Precision. He's doing well with that. He's actually knocking out of the ballpark with that. I'll say that. That's going to be a good step. I think that's where you're going to be seeing a lot of content creators. Chris actually had a massive, I mean, if you ever get a chance, if you're serious about this business or you want to be a YouTuber, get in touch with Chris, follow his channel. He runs a podcast on this as well. But yeah, I mean, subscriber count is outdated. It's about the audience. It's about what you do. And it's actually interesting. So there's some finance channels that, like, there's one finance channel that was speaking, and he was one of the VIP speakers at this conference. And he was talking about like, yep, like he was in real estate investments. He was like, yep, I just got done doing a video. Ever since we went on YouTube, our revenue tripled at our agency, and we're making billions of dollars per month. I'm like expecting, like, okay, I'm expecting that this guy is like this massive YouTuber. He has 10,000 subscribers. Meanwhile, being on YouTube more than tripled the revenue at the real estate office, which is 10,000 subs. So the sub count is, it's a vanity metric at most right now. Really what matters is the views, the engagement, and the audience. And that's why I feel a lot more comfortable not selling out and being an entertainment channel. Even though I will say, one of the struggles that I absolutely know, and I was just actually just having this discussion with one of the brands in our space. So they reached out to me. We did a SHOT Show video with them before. I tried to reach out to them over the summertime. They never responded. And I get an email. I'm sitting in the conference. I get a message on Instagram. All right, I need that. So I get a message this morning. We have a new rifle and chassis in the booth this year if you want to swing by and do another video with us. Yeah. So I was having a discussion with them. I was like, hey, we were wondering, like, okay, like your sub count didn't grow like that much. I'm like, okay, the sub count might not have grown. Our views more than doubled. And this is my full-time thing now. It covers it. So not the ad revenue from YouTube, but all of the stuff as a result of the channel is a full-time thing. It's yeah. Let's put it this way. If anybody here, or if you ever, the coolest part is okay, it's like, honestly, it's like one of the reasons, like, if you're a viewer, and I know a bunch of the viewers here are actually other fellow YouTubers right now, it's like I get more enjoyment out of helping somebody rather than working on my own channel. So it's really cool seeing some of my friends like having their channels blow up, but I'm like, and I got enjoyment out of it, but I'm like, okay, I'm doing it this year now. Like, I'm not going to cheat any of you guys. So yes, absolutely. We are going to be working on this channel, but I will say that if you ever need help with YouTube, or you're interested in being a content creator, abso-freaking-lutely, reach out to us. I mean, like, these are probably some of the friendliest people you will ever find. And we're an open community, and like, I mean, it's not a secret. So a lot of us have our own Discord servers. We have a Discord server for us YouTubers, and like, we run there like during a day. Hey, anybody work with this company? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? For SHOT Show, we use Telegram, just kind of keep the Discord less cluttered. But there are like these networks of other like-minded YouTubers, and absolutely do it. Sorry guys, I went down this rabbit hole. But yes. Yeah, it's great network. And here's the thing though. So like, I mean, kind of going back to like Ryan, we're having a discussion, like, okay, like they're trying to work with a company and they're not getting a response. The best way of working with that company is find one of your fellow YouTubers who's worked with that brand and be like, hey, can you make me an introduction? That's the best way of getting in touch with a company. And that's going to open up a lot of doors. And I will say, generally speaking, most of the YouTubers, no matter the size, most of us, like, I mean, we came, like, I think a common trait for most of the YouTubers, with the exception of maybe one or two, is that we all worked hard and we built up and we pushed that boulder uphill to get it over that hill. So like, no one really was handed success. Some had it easier than others. Some hit it out of the ballpark on YouTube Shorts. But I would say most of us have worked hard. And as a result of it, like you can go up to a lot of these guys and like even like no matter their channel size, like these are like humble people, with the exception of a couple of people who are like complete fucking douchebags. And I'm not gonna say who they are unless we're talking in person. But I will say a couple of the YouTubers generally are like they let the success go to their head. They like, don't you know who I am? It's like they truly think they're better than everybody else. And but in general, it's like we're just normal ass people. And I would say still a lot of us have the imposter syndrome. I will say I sometimes still feel that. It's interesting. I mean, like I was just at a gas station and guys like mimics me, like roll down the window. I'm like, okay. He's like, YouTube, right? I'm like, okay. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no, pew pew. So he was actually a Jersey guy that ran into me. He watched like one of the videos. I'm like, so it's like, it's humbling. And I'm like, and even like, for example, like that PSA video, I'm like, there's over 140,000 people who watched that video. It's like, there's like, it's, yeah, it's interesting. It's like, this was like in person, like, okay, like if you know me, like I'll sometimes joke around, like, okay, don't you know who I am? But it's like anybody, it's like behind it all, like it's still, I'm still amazed. I mean, like not even the people who subscribe, but like, so I mean, it probably crossed 24,000 today, but the hundreds of thousands and millions of people who watch the videos, I was like, it's like sometimes like I wonder like why. I'll even say like honestly, it's like I don't know how some of you guys watch my earlier videos. I think they're utter shit. Like so, for example, like some of the earlier Ruger videos, like the videos that have over 100,000 views, I'm like, let's put it this way, like I know in the grand scheme of things, the video quality was actually pretty decent, but I like right now, I would have never released those videos. I'm like, okay, audio is garbage, video quality is garbage, or like I drone down for too long. I still wonder like half the time, like, oh my God, was I really squatting on a cooler? Um, and so kind of like the whole thing like with that is in the beginning, the entire intention was I really wanted to be more of an entertainment type channel, and that was the whole thing of like I'm like okay, I was like who was the most successful channel that I knew? FPS Russia, but I'm like okay, but unlike that poser, I really am a Slav. So I'm like okay, let me poke fun of my own Slavic heritage, and I'm like okay, well the name's already there. I never wore Adidas before the channel, but I will say it is really comfortable clothing. So like I still do wear it every so often for the videos. I will squat, but like I truly believe some of my earlier videos are like truly cringeworthy. Um, yeah, but so like yeah, it's like I still feel like I feel I'm very humbled by being able to have an audience and being at a point where the income that's generated as not from YouTube, but as a result of YouTube is as much, if not more, than what I made in my finance career. And kind of like, I'm like, okay, so, like it took 4 or 5 years of hard work and draining my savings to the point in time where, hey, you know what? I can honestly say that being on YouTube is allowing me to be on YouTube as a result of everything else. So, yeah. Ryan is not a douchebag at all. He is absolutely not. I mean, he might look scary when you first meet him, especially if you're like clean shaven. But he's like the most nicest down to earth person that you can find. But if I was walking in the woods and Ryan started coming out at me, I would like feel like, oh my God, he's gonna like murder me or something. All of our earlier videos are cringe, and what sucks is a lot of my early video. Exactly. I'll say so. Like my Ruger PC carbine, my Ruger precision rifle video, my Taurus G2C videos. It's like, I'm like, how the hell do you guys watch it? And here's, you know what the sad part is? Like when I did that first video, I absolutely thought, I'm like, oh my God, this is an amazing video. I truly thought it was an awesome video. Like right now, I'm at the point in time where, like, I mean, obviously the Ruger S-Far, like the full review videos, I mean, very legit, good quality videos. But like when I finish with them and I publish them, I'm like, okay, do I want to spend another hour editing this because I can like change this or just clean it up a little bit better, or go through the audio filter a little bit again, or match the colors a little bit better, or like do different jump cuts? Like I still go through that, and it's like, it's about me getting it to the point where like I think it's good enough, but I still think they can be a lot better. And these videos are like infinitely better than the very first ones. But when I did that first video, I'm like, oh, you can't improve this. This is like award winning. This is like the best YouTube video you're ever gonna see. And then I'm like, holy shit. So it's like, it's very, very humbling. If you focused on entertainment, would that make your channel more broad as far as product and sponsor types? Great question. Yes. Yes and no. So I mean, it's a weird one. When you're a broader channel, there are going to be more companies that are going to want to target working with you, but not because you're a broader channel, but because you're a bigger channel. So for instance, it is a lot easier to generate 1 million views filling a refrigerator with Tannerite and shooting it with a 50 cal and making it seem like, oh my God, I almost died. Or in some cases, oh my God, I almost died. Or for example, like look at the guys who do like the high speed cameras where the freaking RPG blew up and the guy almost died. Like that type of entertainment stuff, it generates a shit ton more views, and naturally that's going to get a lot more companies interested in it for now. But the thing to keep in mind is that it will get you more brand deals, but let's say, for example, with like bigger not necessarily gun companies, because I will say gun companies are extremely selective with whom they work with. And as the industry and as influencer marketing matures, a lot of these brands are legit looking into it. So for instance, you take a look at a company like Springfield, and they are a marketing company. Springfield is no longer a gun company. They don't make any of their own shit except 1911s. They slap their name and a whole bunch of other stuff. They are legit at this point a marketing company. They have a good amount of private equity money. They have all the investments, and they look at it purely as a marketing business. And to them, they're not interested in promoting a particular product. They're willing to go out and buy views for their product. And a lot of the sponsored videos, what people basically don't realize is that if a brand reaches out to you and they offer you a gun for review, generally speaking, they don't have creative control over that content. But if you are requesting that gun plus a check, it is no longer a review video. It is a sponsored video. And typically, what happens is the company sends you a media brief. Hey, these are the points that we want you to talk about. And then you create a video, and then they have to approve it. And if there's something they don't like about it, you got to change it. So basically it becomes an advertisement. And then on the flip side of it, you have companies, let's say, for example, like Ruger. They work with a media list of about 10 people. They don't pay people. They don't exercise creative control. They don't tell you what to say or any of that type of stuff. So companies are getting a little bit smarter in that regard. So I would say if you're a gun channel, you will have the same amount of opportunities with firearm sponsors. However, by purely being an entertainment channel, you're going to be able to generate more views. You're going to make less money per view, but you're going to be able to attract a different amount of sponsors. And what's going to happen as a byproduct of that is you're going to have a less engaged audience. So for instance, I mean, like, I bring you up as an example. So like for a particular product that you cover quite a bit, you are, even though like you're one of the smaller channels that the brand has worked with, you are the one who converts at some of the best numbers. And that's because you have a targeted audience. The people who watch your videos are in love with your like they are your audience. They trust what you say, and it converts well. So like for a lot of those type of brands, it's like, okay, there's going to be other complementary offerings that are going to go to it. And you will end up making perhaps more money as a smaller channel that's going to be a little bit more niche rather than a bigger channel that's going to be more entertainment. So really, if you're an entertainment channel, your audience is completely different. So your audience is like Demo Ranch, his audience is 15 years old, teeny bopper video game people, Call of Duty people, rather than, let's say, your channel, it's probably going to be someone who's like 35 and over, male, United States, family values, lots of disposable income and things like that. So there are brands who are going to be attracted to the 15-year-old teeny boppers, but then there's also going to be other brands that are going to be attracted to the guys who are like 35 and over and things like that. So hopefully that kind of gives you what you're looking for. But I will say, so for example, like when one of the speakers that was here, like there was like head of marketing for Roblox, the other one was like head of marketing for Victoria's Secrets. They absolutely look for that 15-year-old audience because that is their audience. They want to get into those people. But when we're talking about firearms, because it's a regulated industry, the companies get nothing out of, let's put it this way, a 15-year-old person will be able to afford a $20 gift card to Roblox, or they'll be able to afford a energy drink, or they'll be able to afford a Victoria's Secrets bra. However, they're not going to be able to afford a $500 gun, a $500 tripod, things like that. So that's really what it comes down to. That's interesting, and I'm wondering how you're getting that metric. But here's the thing: that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's awesome, and to a lot of the vendors, that's something that they would really look forward to. Everyone has gun rights. It doesn't matter whether you're Democrat, Republican, what your affiliation is, or whatnot. Hold on. This is awesome. This is a great comment. So my age demos are pretty broad. About 65% are 25 to 50. That's actually fairly targeted. Believe it or not, that's fairly targeted. So your typical YouTube viewer is right around 13 or 14 years old. So when you so for instance, I was at this conference, I was talking to some brands, and we're like, yep, our audience is generally 25 and over, and our biggest demographic is 55 plus. So the biggest demographic of like age brackets is 55 plus at like 17%. And like they're giddy excited about that, because for most people it is, so like the bigger your YouTube channel is, for example, like a Demo Ranch or any of those big channels, or like Mr. Beast, 80% of their views are outside the United States. For like India, for like China, things like that. And so the bigger and broader your audience is, it's like, okay, these are absolutely not the core values you're looking at. And keep in mind, so like if you're a brand or somebody who knows what they're doing, is they're going to ask you for, hey, what's your audience? And an audience that's located in India is not valuable to them at all versus an audience that's based in the United States. That's awesome. No, that is really awesome. Okay, well, y'all can have a discussion on that. I'm trying to scroll through, and the scroll wheel on my button is not working. Okay. All right, I got GTM's comment right there. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I think covered it. I think I've covered the comments. So go on. It's like, okay, 1:17 Eastern. So it's like, wait, what is it? Vegas time. It's 10:17. All right, we're gonna go for another like 15 minutes or so, and then I am gonna start wrapping up, and then I gotta answer this email. Gun company just reached out to me asking for stuff, so I gotta locate stuff for them. Yeah. So challenge is a shot show. I am not a quitter. I am just still exhausted. And well, obviously I'm trying to plan and organize an event for 3 events actually. Vernon, absolutely. You have my number, right? Are you going to be hanging out with Alex, or are you just doing your own thing? Because if you're going to be hanging out with Alex, Alex is hanging out with us. So by default, you will be in there too. For guys going through media day range, apparently it's going to be half an inch of rain the entire day. So it's not going to be as miserable as last year, but apparently it's going to be, well, it's going to be really wet. Ooh, great one. What is a brand you think will explode in 2024? Okay, audience participation part. Is it even possible for a brand to explode in 2024? The reason why I say that is because I don't think that there's a brand. Nice. Correcto, Chris. I don't think it's possible for a brand new brand to come in and just be massive. Not unless they spend $10 million or so. So I would say the best example of a brand that just came into the market and started dominating is Arkin. I think Arkin is, if you're looking for an example of a brand that did it right from a business perspective. I'm not talking about from the ethics values and all of that stuff. I'm talking purely from the business sense. If you're looking at a brand that did it right, I will say Arkin. And that's because they had enough money in order to invest in the business and send out a bunch of product. And also they partnered with content creators by offering them very fat affiliate commissions. And basically they're able to get access to people and being able to get audiences. I would say we're going to have a lot of brands, a lot more existing brands that are going to keep dying off. But it's tough. But by exploding, I would basically say becoming significantly more popular. It's interesting. I mean, it's a really interesting question. So Ryan kind of came up with a couple. So like Anderson Arms, I honestly haven't followed them too much. But even for example, okay, so like Aero Precision. So I knew Aero as a big brand even 2009 is when I built my first AR. So 15 years ago, like I knew of Arrow. What Arrow did was they did get more equity and more capital, and then they bought out Ballistic Advantage, they bought out Stag, and now like they're like this big massive group. But I would say it's not organic growth, it's inorganic, by basically by using capitals and swallowing up companies and all of that stuff. I would say the other company that you can kind of say blew up was Palmetto State Armory. I think PSA is a better example of that, because PSA truly went from a brand that was mid-sized to now you can absolutely consider them to be a massive top-tier manufacturer of everything that they're involved with. And most people don't realize of like how many parts and firearms they manufacture for other brands. And like, I mean, so I would say like basically we're expanding with the number of brands. So we're taking PSA, splitting into Soviet Arms, Saber, Lead Star, and we're going to be investing money in that. They have their own coffee brand. So I would say that's a bigger example. I'm like trying to think like who else like really kept dumping more money. If anything, I'll possibly say some of the CZ groups. I mean, but once again, it's inorganic growth. They're using money to buy acquisitions in order to grow. I'm gonna disagree with this one. So I would say Live Free Armory is gonna blow up. Brownells, I think, is gonna go down. But I think Live Free Armory is, now that they're spitting out a bunch of new product, I think, but then again, they're fairly big as an OEM for other people, and now we're just working on their own brand. I think they're doing some right things. Brownells, I agree that they're going to be going down. Live Free Armory, I disagree with. I slightly disagree with. It's going to be interesting. So they are going to be one of the first videos. And let's put it this way. The video that we did from the booth tour with Live Free Armory at NRA got over 120,000 views. That's like second best. Anderson, I don't know enough about, so I don't know. I don't have any insights or anything else about that. I think on the suppressor side, I think CGS is probably going to make a little bit of a bigger splash. I mean, Ruger's already Ruger. I think they're already big enough as it is. CZ, I'm actually worried about. CZ has mismanagement issues. Colt, I'd be concerned about them. The other ones I'm concerned about, like sort of like your more iconic names. So let's say like Les Bear, Ed Brown, like even let's say for example a company like Boyd's. These are like big brands that were like, or for example like Robinson Arms. Like these were like really, really big and popular and everything, but like they're still very old school. And it's like they might make a really good product, but like does anybody actually care that's like under 50 years old? That's going to be interesting. I think, you know what, like that's going to be a really good question for that. So here's actually an interesting one. So like Just Walk the Basement SHOT Show, probably 20% of those companies won't be around in the next year. Great point. And like getting the cheapest booth at SHOT Show is $5,000. And like, so there's a company like, for example, X-Tech Tactical, like they used to have a booth and like now they don't, they can't afford it. I kind of keep going back to this comment and topic of within the firearms business, there's two types of companies generally. There is companies that are gun people but have absolutely no business sense. And then you have business people who bought a gun company but have no clue about the guns. And there's very little crossover. What makes a company successful is when you have people who understand both sides of it. I would say PSA is a great example because it is gun people who were business people, and they bring in the right people and they do it well. Ruger is a great example of that because their CEOs and executives, they actually go to the media events, they actually shoot, they take those classes. There's a bunch of military guys. Like, these guys have been around guns. You can't say the same thing for a lot of the bigger companies, and most people don't realize of like how much. So like, thanks to Sandy Hook and Obama and all of that, the first major wave, a lot of liberal institutional money came into the business and invested in gun big companies. And honestly, a lot of these guys were like people that I knew from the finance world. Um, they were like, yeah, it's like, we're private equity. We're like, for example, Zed, they're private equity money. Yeah. Let me see. Let me go for my list. Who else? One of the company I'm going to be following, what's going to be interested, is Apex Optics. I think that's going to be interesting. Colt is going to be interesting to see just like if they're going to go down. Rise Armament, they make a pretty cool trigger. They are investing a good amount of money. It's going to be a company I'm following up. I'm interested to see what Hornady does. That's going to be interesting. All right, now let me take a look at my schedule for the companies I met with last year. We did that. Sequence, interesting. Right On. Right On and Blackhound have new ownership. I'm interested to see what happens with those. Here's an interesting one. Top Precision. So they make the bolt action upper. Really cool product. It's been a couple of years now. I'm interested to see what's going to happen there. Another interesting one is Wooks. So Wooks makes those like Italian chassis rifles. Chassis / stocks. They have money. They keep dumping money into the business. So the biggest interesting point with all of these companies is you have a lot of private equity money that gets into the business, and they have no problem dumping money into it. But the question mark is, how long do they keep dumping money into the business until they say, okay, we need a ROI or an exit strategy, or they just say, okay, that's it, we're done. And the thing about private equity is they're quick to put money in, they're quick to put money out. As opposed to, let's say, for example, somebody started a gun company, they made a good amount of money, and then they have tough times. Like, if it's somebody's baby, if the name of the gun company is your last name, you are going to be very hesitant to just close it down. I mean, you're going to chase bad money with more money. So I do think a lot of those companies are going to be more resilient, but it's like maybe like it's time to put the dog out to pasture. Top Precision never has anything available. I honestly haven't followed their website. I know most of the time they make it built to order. I will have to follow up on that one. Oh, great comment. Apex makes great optics, but I don't think Apex is interested in the U.S. market. They are. They're absolutely interested in the U.S. market. However, so Canada is like its own little like segregated market, and it's fairly easy to dominate Canada because they have a tough enough time getting product to Canada, and there is less competition. Now, if they get into the United States, and the other thing is, so the Canadian markets, they're paying more money. So if Vernon is still here, Ultimate Arms, he can talk about this as well. But if now, let's say, for example, you want to compete in the United States, okay, Apex. Give me a reason to go Apex versus Vortex, Athlon, Tracked Optics, Element Optics, Burris, Steiner, all of these companies who have very competing product, sometimes from the same OEM. So it would take a lot more money. I did meet with them. We are going to have a meeting this SHOT Show. They're absolutely interested, but the way that they're choosing to grow the company is they're building out a product portfolio, and we're starting with the market that they can saturate and dominate first, and then we're planning on leveraging into the United States. Because especially companies where you're bootstrapping your own money, let's put it this way, if like private equity or if somebody came in and basically said, hey, we have $10 million, we want to invest in it, yeah, you know what, you can kind of come up with a bigger strategy to get into the US market, carve out a niche for yourself and all of that. But if you don't have that big of a budget, you have to take it slow, start from where you are, and grow. And I think a prime example of that is Tracked Optics. Major issues, though. The marketing. What do you mean, Chris? I want to talk about this. So I know the marketing person at LFA. Yes. So they would be cheaper than the Razer Gen 3. And so, I mean, Pristine is also a great example of that. So Pristine is a Canadian company. They're targeting that, but I mean, also Pristine has a lot of competition. And then they raise the prices. Okay, so Vernon, so was I fairly spot on with Apex Optics and kind of like your Canadian market being Canadian? Yeah. All right, so let me go down that list. Ooh, okay, here we go. I actually, you know what, for the down, Christensen. I think Christensen is running. I think Christensen is going to have issues. And I think like they spent a bunch of money like drunken sailors. And remember Christensen 1911s? They had him on display. They had him on display there. Now they don't. So I think Christensen is going to have some issues. We still have a pretty big booth. They might be one of the down. SIG is going to be in. So I mean, SIG has a shit ton of money and they pay off the right people. But I think they do have issues with more and more P320s blowing up. That's a legit thing. I see Savage this year is going. Yes. Yeah. The other one that could be interesting on the fence is Bergara. I still think they're generally doing things fairly right. They do have Bergaras and CBA. So what people don't realize, that Bergara is owned by BPI, which is Bergara Product something. It's BPI Group. So BPI owns Bergara, CBA, and dead air suppressors. PSA always teases a ton of shit. So here's my prediction for PSA. They're going to announce 30 different products. We're going to do 5 videos on them. The videos are going to do insane views. And 12 months from now, maybe 10% of the product is actually going to be released. That is my prediction for PSA. Although I will say, so PSA bought AAC. So out of the bankruptcy, they bought AAC, the suppressor company. they didn't want the suppressor company. The only thing they wanted is AAC, the name, which is America's Ammunition Company. But then they basically decided, hey, the hell with it, let's make suppressors as well. So I think they did announce some new stuff. Yes, I do. Good night, Andrew. Yeah, so Apex is only a year and a half old. Like they're really young as a company. They're really young as a company, but they make pretty decent product. Yeah, and I'll say, if you're shooting matches, a lot of it is like localized as well. So if everybody at your local match shoots a particular type of thing, most people are going to go for that type of a thing. But I know for example, like Apex Optics, I think they have like 30 people on their sponsor team, like something ridiculous like that. So yeah, they have a massive shooting team. So fun one for you guys. I think on Sunday we're gonna have a couple of creators here. I'm gonna try to do a Sunday live stream with a bunch of us, as long as I figure out, because I didn't bring my Blackmagic A10 Mini so we can use the real cameras. And for some reason, I was having issues connecting them and using them as a webcam directly into here. Absolutely true. Actually, I don't even know over US prices. I know over Canadian. I know the Canadian prices were competitive for what they are. That's because you called me a quitter. Actually, the other company that's going to be interested is also one of these like fairly iconic brands, and that is March. No, sorry, not March. Oh my fucking god! What's the name of that scope company? Um, I did a video with them, and the guy who was there is Citron. Citron. So they very iconic brand. They're head of one of the big wigs there. He left, and now he works at Panasonic. So I am going to be interested to see what they do. Also, the other one is like, so I would say collectively, the ones that are probably going to have a very tough time are your smaller mid-tier brands that primarily distribute through dealers and don't invest a lot in influencers. So this would become, like, for example, like Crimson Trace, like your Bushnells, things like that. I guess like Hawk Optics, like Hawk Optics. I don't see too many influencers or content creators doing content on them, and yeah. So that's interesting. I know they're putting a lot more money into that. However, like locally here, like no one uses Bushnell. But they're trying. I mean, they do have big institutional money. They have like a lot of money. They will keep spending a lot of money. Some of the small, I guess, like Bushnell's kind of like a slightly bad example. Okay, so you're going to talk about like massive marketing issues. I scheduled an appointment with them last year with their marketing person. I show up and she's like, "Oh, it's already too late in the day. I am really tired. Why don't you come back in the morning?" I come back in the morning. "Oh, I can't do a video. I'm hungover." Yeah. Head of marketing for Hawk Optics. And that issues. Feel free to ask your questions. That is interesting that they have that many sponsored shooters. I did not realize they have that many. that is interesting. Yes, but didn't they promote her and then she left? So like, she wasn't kicked out shortly after SHOT Show. I thought it was like a bit later than that. Okay, so weird one for you guys. So I'm at this marketing conference. There are people they're handing out booze at 11 o'clock in the morning. I like at SHOT Show, like they'll usually bring out the beer carts around like 3 or 4 p.m. Here at this marketing conference, and like these are like Fortune 100 bigwigs. We're freaking drinking at 11 o'clock in the morning at the booth. It's just weird. And Grey Dad Gear, thank you for joining. I think this is the first time I'm seeing you on here. I apologize for the shitty live stream quality. This is like, I'm using my webcam on my laptop, and it's shaky because I don't have my desk. See, here you go, guys. Staying at Resorts World at the Hilton, and I don't even have a good view. Hold on. Okay, so Ryan had a comment. Yep, you're quite right. Hold on, I just had a notification or an email or something. Got it. Got it. Sweet. Yay. Bougie. Who's bougie? Oh, where I'm staying is bougie. Once again, it's I call it the degenerate gambler discounts. Like I don't gamble much, but like when Vegas has like a hard time and like there's like the really cool part about going to SHOT Shows because now there's like so many new casinos. There's so many hotel rooms and even like the big shows can't sell them out. They are they're willing to comp them to people in hopes that they gamble and go degenerate. So, like I said, this year, even though the flights are a little bit more, but my hotels were completely comped. And the way I did that is, so for example, I played here one time this last year. So they gave me 3 nights free. Venetian matched it. And then there's a new hotel here built, the Fountain Blue. And I emailed the casino host. I'm like, hey, I'm interested in coming down. Can you like comp me some stays? And she's like, yep, I'll comp you 5 nights free during SHOT Show. I'm like, sweet. Meanwhile, hotel rooms on the strip are like $300 a night. Ooh. Oh my God, I forgot about this one. So one of the companies that might blow up this year is CNH Precision. I think they got some institutional money. They have a couple of brands. Their booth this year is on the main floor next to Smith & Wesson. And I thought like they just made some mounts and machining and then they did the optics. That is that. I would definitely watch them. We do have a video scheduled with them. I forgot to put it on my calendar, but we do have that scheduled. Oops, sorry. CMMG. So CMMG, they always have really cool stuff, but seemingly they can't get traction. Like almost like no matter like I mean like they keep putting out really really cool stuff, but for some reason it just isn't sticking. Like they're kind of like in that mid-level tier, but it's like they're not instantly like for example, like take a look at like Franklin Armory. They out of the bankruptcy, out of the Freedom Group, out of Cerberus Capital, they bought out the Bushmaster name. Yeah, Bushmaster. And the reason why is because it's an iconic brand. And they basically had a bunch of their own product and they were able to basically put on Bushmaster and it works. CMMG is a fairly cool brand, but it's like, for whatever reason, they can't break out and become more popular. So I mean, yeah, it's like, as Chris basically said, they have cool stuff. Good night, Vernon. We'll be in touch. Okay, interesting. We will have to discuss that one. Interesting. All right. All right. And now it's getting late. 15 minutes are over. It's so 15 minutes turned into 30 minutes. So thank you, Chris. I succumbed to peer pressure. On that note, gentlemen, thank you everybody for joined in. If you joined in late, there's a lot of really cool stuff that we're discussing. So watch the replay from the beginning. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat. Thank you, my friend. Can't wait to see all of you guys that are going to be coming out. I am only a semi-quitter. You're absolutely right. I'm just tired and I'm like ready to go to pass out. Keep in mind, I'm an East Coaster on West Coast time. And because I'll be up at like 6 a.m. So, thank you, everybody. I think we're definitely going to do a live stream and Sunday evening. We should have something. I might go to Beretta Media Day. I'm going to see if I can kind of get in or something along those lines, but we'll see. So we shall be in touch. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to have YouTube Shorts and all that stuff. You're going to have some more posts, and we'll be in touch. So as always, thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Wow. Like, oh, this is how tired I am. Thank you. Thank you. As always, thank you for watching. Keep on squatting in. I will see you in the next video. Good night.